Today we're going to be talking about our personal ethics autobiography and what it means and how it impacts us as coaches. It's as simple as that. And basically, it's one of the topics that you can, if you have a supervisor, actually discuss it with your supervisor and how the conflicts between your ethics and the ethics of your client or the profession may impact your performance as a coach. In short, my name is Ghaya. I've got a whole lot of qualifications and credentials, but the most important thing about me is that I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a friend, and that's what I'm most proud of. I'd like to share a poll with you at this point in time and ask you, how often have you actually thought about your ethics? How often have you reviewed your ethical autobiography? Awesome. We've got a group of people here that seem to have done it quite a few times. Great. And yep, so everyone here has at least done it one time. So I am going to be learning a lot more from you as we go along as well. And basically, what I am going to be highlighting in this session is what our ethics autobiography is all about, reflecting on the impact of it on you, reflection on your morals and how they impact your work with the clients or other people. And basically, I'll give a reminder of the ICF community of practice on coaching supervision and provide you with links that you can join that community of practice. The most important part, and I've asked everyone to get a pen and paper, is to reflect and explore in writing and through our discussion how your personal values, backgrounds, traditions may influence your approach to coaching practice and your delivery of coaching. I hope you're ready for this. So let's start with our first session objective, which is your personal ethics autobiography. There's a lot of influences on us, and we all know it. Families influence the way we view things, our peers, then when we grow up, our peers start influencing us a little bit more, our community and environment, our experiences and guides in life. So what I found one time when I was doing this ethics exercise is that, amazingly enough, one of the beliefs or the moral guidelines that I have does not come from my peers or my family. It actually just comes from TV. Snitches get stitches. It's something that I heard so often that it actually impacted the way I look at things. So I kind of, there was a time it actually influenced the way I look at coaching. So we maintain confidentiality, but if something is against the law, then I'm supposed to snitch. And that was a conflict in my personal mind when I was thinking about it. So that's how it can influence in our profession as well. So it does not have to be directly influenced from your family and your peers. Sometimes it could be something that's as remote as you've been watching too many crime dramas on TV as well. So that can impact you as well. I'm going to ask you to reflect on something. What is your idea of right and wrong behavior? I'd like to invite you to write it down and think about it. And reflect on where these concepts come from. Okay, so we just reflected on most people, because we've done this exercise before, we've looked at our ethics autobiography, there weren't many surprises, but there was a growth that was witnessed by the participants. And now, if there were any additional questions that were raised as a result of it, I'd just like to invite you to just write them down and keep a record of them. And it's something that you can reflect on as you go beyond this time together. What is the impact of our ethics autobiography on our coaching? I'd like to invite you to look at what professional ethics in the field of coaching are most compatible with your personal values. I mean, we've had a time of reflecting of what we believe is right and wrong, and we kind of had a compass of what we believe is right and wrong, what our values are generally. So what are the parts of coaching that are most compatible with that? And which professional ethics are least compatible with your own personal values? And as you go through this exercise, I'd like you to look at it. So I go back to, I realized, I mean, earlier on I talked about snitches get stitches. I realized it when I started looking at the coaching. I was very, very comfortable maintaining confidentiality. I was very, very comfortable doing that because of that belief that I have that snitches get stitches. But the part that I always had a problem with is when and how to talk about things that may not be legal, so to speak. Because I always believe that, you know, as long as you haven't done it, you're just thinking it, it shouldn't be something that I talk about. And that was something that I had to kind of work on personally in some of the supervision sessions that I did. They weren't serious ethical violations, but they were legal violations for the country that we were in. So I had to consider that as well. So that is something to consider. So I'd like to invite you to reflect on this. One thing that maybe you can look at, especially if you're working with executives or you're talking, even if you're talking to one-to-one clients in life coaching, is what might be the benefits of repeating this exercise, not only for yourself, but with your client, as and when the opportunity arises. It could be something that could be there for them to actually reflect not only on their morals and their guides and how it impacts the way they look, because every profession, every life, every way of life has its own code of ethics. So how does that contradict or go with their own personal values as well? So that could be something that you can reflect on, how you can use this exercise not only for yourself, but also with your clients. Now we're going to talk about our personal morals, and we all have them. I'd like to invite you to consider, what are the most important morals to you? So first things first, just take a pause and write them down. You don't need to judge them, where they came from, how they came from, whatever is happening. Just write them down. There are no right or wrong answers, just let them flow. And when you're done, I'd like you to just notice, what are the common themes that are coming out?
So, Ryan, can you define what you mean by a personal moral?
So
as
my
opposed to a value or an ethic?
Morals are what I believe are right or wrong, and they can be considered values and ethics, but what I personally believe is right or wrong. So my personal belief is that, there's a certain minimum age for marriage, for example. That's it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's legal or illegal or whatever. I personally believe in, okay, one of the things that people can turn around, I believe in marriage. Okay, not everybody will necessarily have the same morals I have, but that's the moral that I was brought up with. You got my point. So things like that, they don't have to be ethically or professionally related, but it just normal ones. Just take a moment, just write them down as they come into your head. And then afterwards, you can notice if there is a theme that goes with it. So some people have biblical kind of morals that go with thou shalt not and thou shalt, kind of the 10 commandments. And then just notice, what is the theme that comes out? Then you can ask yourself, how are they in alignment or in conflict with your work with your clients? And consider how they are impacting the way you personally, I do this, how does it personally impact the way I work with people? And how does it affect me? It's easier to come out when you're being triggered, but it's even better when you're able to do it before you get triggered as well, or after you're triggered, after the session, reflecting on what did it touch? How did it touch you? Now, normally I would take you out to the small breakout rooms where you would talk about any thoughts or emotions that you may have that will arise if you have a client with different moral codes than yours. And kind of like what was shared during our previous break, where somebody's got serious judgments against a person's skin color or background, okay? And what scares you about working with someone who is so different from you? If you were to have someone, or have you ever worked with someone who's so different from you that it made you so uncomfortable? The good thing as coaches, we don't really have to work with anyone we don't really want to work with. It's not court mandated. We're not legal aids, so we don't have to work with people who we don't want to work with. But there are times that we may be challenged, and this is especially an issue, can be an issue for internal coaches. I had to face it because there was a time when I was the only internal coach in the organization, and I had to work with people that I was not very comfortable working with. And that was a bit of a discomfort for me. So I have to admit, I worked a lot with my supervisor during those times to kind of ease my way and get into practice to be able to be comfortable with these individuals until we could find another resource to be able to help them as well. So that is that.
And I think that's really, really, really true, right? That really arises a lot more for internal coaches. They're much more.
Oh, no worries. You joined us. That's the most important thing, Sheikh Saeed. Okay. And now we're coming to the end of where we are, which is basically a reminder that ICF has a community of practice for coaching supervision. Their aim and their purpose is to engage, for coaches to engage in reflective practice. What we did right now is reflective practice, and you will get 1.5 CCEUs all on core competencies at the end of working this hour and a half. So the engagement of the reflective practice that can go towards your credentialing purposes and continued education purpose. It is the purpose of coaching supervision is also to increase the awareness and understanding of supervision. And it is to encourage us as coaches to consider how supervision can contribute to our professional and personal development. I have to admit, supervision for me is a lifeline. I would not be the person that I am with my clients without it. Okay, but that's my personal point of view. It gives me a lot of awareness and time to go through my internal thought processes as I go through coaching sessions. I will share these links into the chat. This is the community of practice, and if you want to sign up for it as well, there's a link, and they have a LinkedIn group that you can join as well and find out about events across. And they have a list of coaching supervisors that have registered with them from across different coaching supervision bodies. And they will be able to support you to find the right supervisor for you.